Well, welcome to Journey. My name's Jamie. This is Kevin.
Hi.
We're both pastors here. Hi, Kevin. Oh, look at that. Hey. That's David Leonard. We call him Pastor David. He loves that phrase. If you see David, call him Pastor David. Or Reverend Leonard.
Ooh. Reverend.
That has a nice ring.
Just messing with him now.
Yes, we are just messing with him now.
Thank you if you're in the overflow. Pardon our parking.
And those of you who are online, thank you for being patient and watching from afar. And those of you who are here, thank you for braving whatever was happening out there. We know it's really, really crazy. But today might be the craziest of all the days. Like, it might, in theory, get better.
Let's hope so.
Okay.
And if you're in this room, you probably parked in, just so you know that.
Oh, yeah. So, actually, you know how normally we love for you to hang around, talk, fellowship, see people, say hello, enjoy camaraderie? Today, we need you to leave as fast as possible. Which is so weird to say.
It is. It is. But
this is why we need more space, because we want you to enjoy each other, except for today.
The new lobby is going to be amazing.
The new lobby is going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is the parking lot.
Yes, in the parking lot. Like, you can just mill around and pick flowers, and it's going to be glorious. But not today.
We won't have flowers. And we won't have flowers for a
while.
while.
We're going to have flowers.
Okay.
At some point, we should have flowers.
We should have flowers.
So, anyway. Okay. Kevin's a pragmatist.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
More than you know.
We are more than I know. I mean, wow.
I don't say half the stuff that comes to my mind.
Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. So we're kicking off a new series today, and Kevin and I sometimes wrap up an old series or start a new series, and we do this thing called Questions and Questions, where you ask questions and then we just ask questions in response. Sometimes there's kind of answers to it, but we kind of take a stab and we'll kind of wander around it a little bit. But the questions are really what, to us, have great value. So just the act of forming a question and sending it to us, hopefully, is doing something for you, because it's pulling out perhaps something that's happening internally, and you're putting it into words, and you're looking at it, and we might give some thoughts about it. But keep in mind, the question's more important than the answer. It's doing something. It's part of the process of discovery. It has great value. So we've got a number we're going to put up on the screen. There it is. And you can text in questions to Kevin. And we are starting this series, so we're going to be going for probably, 6-8 weeks. So even if we don't get to them today, we may get to some of these. They'll shape some of the messages to come. Mm-hmm. So your messages actually help us determine the content and where we're going as we try to help meet you at your point of need. Yep. So the new series is called I Can Relate, and it's about relationships. How do I relate to myself? How do I relate to God? How do I relate to other people? How do I relate to the things I create? How do I relate to the things I've been given? And it's really kind of a journey through the Proverbs. So it's practicing Proverbs. Now let me say a word about the Proverbs. Proverbs is a book in the Old Testament. It's in the wisdom books, and there are several wisdom books. Proverbs is... When you think Proverbs, this is very important about the Proverbs. When you hear Proverbs, don't think promises. Think probabilities. So the Proverbs are kind of like, as a general rule, if you do this, this will happen. But there are exceptions. And so if you go, well, no, that's not true, because that doesn't happen every time. You're correct. It doesn't happen every time. It's more of a probability. So it's giving you kind of some skills for life, applied knowledge. But there are exceptions to the rule. And just to make sure we understand that, those who compiled the Old Testament were kind enough to add a couple other books, one called Job and another called Ecclesiastes, that help make us understand that it doesn't always work out how we think it will. So there are exceptions to every rule. And if we're not careful, Proverbs becomes just a formula. Well, wait a second. The Bible said it would. If I did this would happen.
Right. If I train my kid in the way he should go,
he will not depart from it. Yeah. And then we go, but hold on.
But wait a minute.
Yeah. So the Bible must not be true. No.
That's not a promise.
Right. It's a probability. So these are general rules for life. Now, today's foundational in that we're going to get into some of this. Like, essentially, it's the how. How do I interact with other human beings that are annoying? How do I work hard for my career? How do I please God? Some of those things. But to get to that, there is a massive foundational piece that has to be understood, and it's really, really hard to grasp. It's actually very, very simple. It's just quite difficult for most of us as humans to believe. And that's where we're going to spend a little bit of time today. Now, we might deviate because you have some questions that may take us some places, but
the last thing you just said is really important. It's not an understanding or knowledge question. It's a belief question.
yeah.
That's
Because the information's quite simple.
it is. It's believing it true.
But dropping it from here to here,
Yeah.
that's the work.
Yeah.
So let's kick it off. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. My child, listen to what I say and remember what I command you. Listen carefully to wisdom. Set your mind on understanding. Cry out for wisdom and beg for understanding. Do some internal work. Get curious about you. That's what he's saying. Search for it like silver and hunt for it like hidden treasure. Don't give up the quest to discover what makes you you. And then, when you do this, remember probability, then you will understand respect for the Lord and you will find that you know God. Now, there's a phrase here that's used, fear of the Lord, in some translations, and actually comes up in several other proverbs. When you hear fear of the Lord, there's a languaging problem here that translates to our modern day English. When you hear fear, don't hear terror. I should be terrorized by God. Some of us were brought up in religious circles where we were taught to be afraid of God. Unfortunately, this is where Zeus kind of crept into some of our teaching. And some of us spent a lot of years praying, Dear Zeus, thank you for today. I know you're generally angry with me, and I should be afraid of you, so if I would be good today, would you not strike me with lightning, and would you, help my aunt, and, help me with my grades today? Sometimes, by default, religion has taught us to be terrorized, to be afraid of God. Mm-hmm. When you hear this fear of the Lord phrase, hear awe, hear respect, hear reverence, hear there's something sacred. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you just went, there's something sacred about this moment? You kind of really can't even put words to it. It feels transcendent, but you're drawn to it like a magnet. Have you ever been in a concert or something where you're just in awe, and you're like, keep singing, like I'm mesmerized, I'm drawn in like a magnet? That's the concept when you hear fear of the Lord. And so this idea in this last passage is, hey, when you go to this internal place and get curious about you, what makes you, what makes you tick, who you are, do that so that you have a better understanding of you, so that you'll have a better understanding of God and who you are in Christ. Let me give you another proverb, Proverbs 14:27. The fear of the Lord, here we go, the deep love, awe, the magnetism of the transcendent is a fountain of life, turning a person from the snares of death. So I want you to think about, when's the last time you felt the fountain of life? You sensed the transcendent. You took enough time to simply be present to another person, to the great creation, to God's Word. When's the last time you were just in awe of God? You went into wonder. When you do this, you actually avoid the aroma of death, the traps of death. What Paul talks about when we get later on into the New Testament, the flesh and the ways of the world, a totally different way of being, which is caught in this hamster wheel of life to try and refine the ego, to get lost in the flesh and do what the flesh wants you to do. So if you'll slow down, if you will take time for the transcendent, it will help you avoid that death. This is where he's going. Well, the New Testament passage for this, it sums it up beautifully, is John 10:10. The thief comes, steal, kill, and destroy. This is what evil will come and bring death. But I have come, this is Jesus speaking, that you might have life and have it to the full. The word in the King James is abundantly. So you're getting this picture of abundance, fullness, fountain of life, respect for the Lord, the fullness of God. You'll find a deep knowing. Where does this all happen? Well, it kicks off, my child, listen to what I say. Look carefully for wisdom. Get curious, lean into wonder, into the transcendent. And where does all of this finally settle? In a foundational truth. And this is the truth that I said was really simple but hard to believe. It's captured in poetry, in the Song of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 3. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. You already are loved. You're the beloved. You're a child. You were created by God. You're a bearer of the imago Dei. That means the image of God. You're already loved. I'm just saying that for just a second. You're already loved. I'm going to circle back to this because the whole series, this is the foundational truth. Henry Nouwen has a wonderful piece on this. He says this: self-rejection is the greatest enemy of the spiritual life, the greatest enemy of the spiritual life, because it contradicts the sacred voice that calls us the beloved. Being beloved, or being the beloved, expresses the core truth of our existence. Becoming beloved is the great spiritual journey we all have to take. Isn't that interesting? We're already loved, and yet it's the journey we have to take. But it's already. The journey is not that God's figuring out how to love us.
Right.
The journey is that we're figuring out how to let him love us.
Right.
The journey is letting ourselves be loved. So let me give you a question to sit in for just a second. And then I'm going to give you a universal lie that we struggle with. And then it's a free-for-all. All right?
Free for all?
Well-ish. I mean,
Okay.
through the texting.
All right.
I mean, you know, it's within.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Let me ask a couple questions. What keeps you from recognizing your true identity as the beloved? If you're taking notes, you could write some of these questions down, because we're going to go pretty quick. We have a short period of time, so this is pretty compressed. So some of this, again, when you only have 30 minutes on a Sunday, I'm like poking and prodding, trying to agitate, so you'll do some work during the week. So part of the, if all you do is wait Sunday to Sunday, 7 days, this doesn't kind of fit our format. The goal here is just to give you enough to start the process, so you'll spend some time during the week on this, all right? Just so you know. So you want to take some questions, and we'll put it up on podcast, video cast this week if you need to take another run at it. But I'm going to leave you some questions that are meant to, like, go do some, gets curious, right here. What keeps you from recognizing your true identity as the beloved? What's preventing you from living an abundant life? What's the story that you keep telling yourself? What's the narrative? You know, our mind, we have neural pathways that get grooved. Like, just think it's a groove. And we can get stuck here. What's the current conflict that's internal? Could be raging inside. Could be subtle. What's the question you carry around? By the way, everybody carries a question around. All of us. What's the dominant question you carry around? You go, I don't know if I really have a question. You have a question. Spend a little time this week. For instance, the question might be, I wonder what they think of me. The dominant question in your life. Another question might be, I wonder if I'm enough. There are questions that dominate our existence and affect our behavior. Again, get curious. Where do you feel stuck? What low standard have you tolerated? All right, now hopefully I've agitated enough to get you thinking. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. So the goal is for you to get curious and allow the Lord to begin to illuminate certain truths. All right? So I'm going to ask you another question. What would it be like to stop trying to change yourself and simply become yourself? Let's just stay in that for a second. What would it be like to stop trying to change yourself and simply become yourself? Now, for all your contrarians who are already You don't like the question.
Yep, there's some people out there that don't like that question.
I know y'all. I know you, my people.
Are you sure that's the right question?
Why is this question so hard? I want you to think about it. Because I can hear them leaping from your minds. Yeah, but. Yeah, but. What would it be like to stop trying to fix yourself and become yourself? Now let's define yourself. Let's start foundationally. Who are you? We'll do this, it'll be a little rhetorical. If you want to talk, you can, but I'll pretend I'm answering. Are you a child of God? Are you an expression of the divine? Did you come from him? Is he your source? Are you a bearer of the Imago Dei? Is his image upon you? Are you the light of the world? So let's talk about who you are. Foundationally. Are you beloved?
It's not really a question.
What is it?
It's a truth.
What's up, Kevin? But for the sake of our exchange.
Okay, yeah. Do you believe you're loved? That might be the question.
I like that.
Question might be, do you believe
Do you believe that you're
loved?
loved? The ego is clawing at your brain right now to go, yeah. I get the whole I'm loved by God thing. But I know it. I got one. I'm living in my ego right now. And I'm attempting to line that ego with truth, to live into the Spirit. But it crawls around in our mind and goes, yeah, but you got to live a holy life. Yeah, but God's called you. Yeah, but you got to be responsible. You have to be a good steward. But yeah, but and what about the things you've done in the past? And what about the sin? And what about the shame? And what about the other people? And yeah, but do you believe you're loved?
And the thing, you can't make it happen. It's already happened.
Thus, the question, what would it be like to stop trying to fix yourself? Because the ego tries to go, if I can accomplish, achieve, do this thing, we like telling God we've done something for him to prove our love. Mm-hmm. Or the reverse, we like telling God we're so far beyond his grasp that we can't be loved. The ego slides to one of those extremes all the time. But I want you to live in that tension a little bit this week. What if you're just already loved? Viktor Frankl, I went back as we were preparing for this, thinking about the Proverbs and going, who is someone who experienced life in the complete and total deprivation? Like everything about life was stripped from him. And arguably the Holocaust is one of those moments in human history. And Viktor Frankl wrote a book, he's a Jew who survived the Holocaust, wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It's a classic text. But he's an example of, he saw life stripped down to its bare essence, and he says this: forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond. You're a free agent who gets to choose and who gets to believe. Now here's the universal lie. And we're getting close to it, we'll just rock and roll on some of these things. But I'm just giving you the foundation, because this is set up for the whole series. Here's the universal lie. If I can control someone else, I can be happy. This is the universal lie. Right now, there's a little unhappiness in your life, and if one person would change, you would be happier. The lie says, if I can get them to change, my life will be better. Here's the crazy part about that. Have you ever actually been successful and finally ironed somebody out? And they finally started to comply to you what you wanted. What inevitably happens? Another human being pops up in your life.
That's when you only have one kid. Oh,
You're like, wait a
I wasn't
second.
supposed to say that out loud.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you have two.
I have two.
Yeah. I don't think Alyssa is here today.
No,
so.
she's not. We're good.
Alyssa, if you're watching online.
Sorry.
What happens? And this is why it's the lie. Almost every problem we have is trying to get someone to do what we want them to do. Almost every one of your problems is that someone is currently not living according to your life plan.
Yep.
And your happiness is contingent upon them lining up. I say us, me. Well,
Yeah.
Definitely Kevin.
Yes. You
Proverbs
have-
29:5.
You have 4 kids.
Yeah, I have 4 kids. Well, this isn't just kids.
I know.
Those who flatter their neighbors are spreading nets for their feet. Do you know what flattery does? Creates an energetic bond. I'm actually manipulating you to get you to do something, and I'm spreading a net for my own feet. I'm going to get caught in this web. That's what manipulation does. It gets us hooked. Again, Viktor Frankl, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So there you go. There's the foundation for the next 6 weeks.
I think it's probably going to take longer than 6 weeks.
All right, we might go longer. But let's just stay right there in that thing. What if you stop trying to fix yourself and you simply surrendered? This is a spiritual word we use quite a bit, surrender. Do we have you read something about surrender? I got something on there about surrender.
Surrender.
It's
Yeah.
right there. You see it?
The Proverbs.
Read that Proverbs, yeah.
Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. What would it be like to stop trying to change yourself and simply become yourself?
Yeah, there's one more other thing after that. Maybe that quote from...
Forces beyond your control.
Yeah, read that one more time.
That's Viktor Frankl.
Mm-hmm.
Forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation.
Back to that choice. I want to take you through it one more time because this is the foundational piece. So hear that proverb, hear that quote, listen to this universal truth. What would it be like to wake up in the morning, throw open the cover, stand up and go, I'm already loved? How would that affect the rest of your day? Everything, right? Now the problem is, you're going to run into a human being, maybe within 5 minutes.
Or less.
Or less. And that human being might be doing something that is not your preference. And so what happens next? Because here's the 2 pieces. I'm telling you, all of life, I'm trying to make it super foundational because we're going to get into practical, this is a better way to communicate. And it's a relationship series, right? But this is so foundational. First pillar right here, you're already loved. So whatever happens through your day, because most of the day we're just trying to go, am I loved? Yes, you are. You're already loved. Somebody's going to come at you with a critique. Someone's going to come at you saying, you should do this, you need to be that, you're not that, you're not. And you can go, you're probably right. In my ego, yeah. What if remember when Jesus went to the cross, death, where is your sting? Death, where is your sting was, okay, I'll go to the cross. And I went to the cross, and guess what? I didn't die. Or I died and came back. So there's no power in it. I took the power out of death. When someone goes, yeah, you're this, about your ego, and you go, yeah. And I'm already loved. My ego has got a lot of problems. Actually, you missed a few. Because I actually am also, in my ego, I was actually really angry. I was thinking about murdering you. So there's a lot of there's 4 or 5 other things going on. You just missed a couple. So you're totally right, massively depraved, and I'm loved by God. Already a child, already loved. So I'm going to do life like this. So it's foundational. Now, the other piece that happens, of course, is human beings come into your life, and we call it suffering. People aren't functioning. Maybe it's physical pain. Maybe it's emotional pain. Maybe whatever kind of pain comes up, Proverbs 14:10, each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. Our suffering is unique to us. Have you ever had somebody come up and they're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm dealing with this thing. Oh, I know, I've been through the same exact thing. You're like, nah, maybe not. And sometimes they're just trying to be kind, they're trying to connect, and sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not helpful, because we each bear the suffering of the world differently. But here's another very important truth. Super simple in our brain, hard in our heart. Suffering will always exist, and you can't avoid it. I remember growing up hearing messages like people like, God can't use you till you're broken. And I was always like, that sucks. Like, like, I do not want the broken thing. That doesn't sound good.
No.
But the fact is, suffering comes in all different shapes and sizes. Mm-hmm. And it's never going to cease coming. So what if life, rather than being afraid of suffering or trying to always go around suffering, you embraced it? But yeah, I'll take my suffering. This one's mine. Because the beautiful life, by the way, great art, is the way in which you carry your suffering. That's the beautiful life. Have you ever been around somebody you know their particular form of suffering and you watch them choose joy? And don't you go, wow, I want to be like that. You know what happened when you said, wow? Fear of the Lord. Awe. You were actually, the light of God was being displayed through them. What is to give light must endure burning.
That's a great quote.
If we're the light of the world,
that's a killer. Yeah.
What is to give light must endure burning. So suffering is part of the process. It's just the meaning that we give it. And everything changes when we embrace it and we go, okay, this one's mine. I'm going to bear it this way. Somebody else has a different form.
But our natural proclivity is to what?
Run, hide, be angry, victimization.
Douse the flame.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Medicate.
Yeah. Yep. That's our natural proclivity. Because we gravitate towards comfort.
We go to our idols, right?
Yep.
Comfort, power, approval.
Yep. And there we land.
Yeah. And by the way, and have patience with yourself to go, yeah, that's your ego. Your ego is always going to drift into the flesh, into the world's way, and to go, well, I want to be my own little God and I want to control my own little world. It's just that it's an illusion. So that's why Jesus is always teaching about seeing. All right, you got any? Okay.
Yeah, I should have left the dinger on. Ding, ding,
Oh, yeah,
ding,
yeah,
ding.
yeah. Okay, all right, good.
Okay.
So let's pick a few. Let's go.
No, I think there's a central theme coming across.
Okay.
And that central theme speaks to this idea of, okay, what you really are saying is somebody wrote it this way, you want me to stop trying to be loved by God. What does that mean then? And what is trying? You can't really mean we're supposed to stop trying.
They clearly haven't seen Star Wars. I have a quote for them. There is no try. Do or do not. Okay, we'll come back to it. So keep going. It's Yoda.
When? Which one?
That was in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, man.
When Luke's trying to get the X-Wing out of Dagobah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm with you. How do I find worth if I give?
It's like this all week long. Okay.
Generally speaking,
yes.
How do I find worth?
Yes.
Then if I'm not trying, how do I?
Love that. That's good. I like that.
Where do you want to go with this?
How do I find worth? There's no worth to be found. You're already loved. You're already loved. You don't have to accomplish a thing to be loved. Now, maybe there's a finding, there's a discovery of it, right? That's the whole spiritual journey is awakening to love. Mm-hmm. So there's certainly a finding. But I'll go to and I hear what you're saying in it. Yeah. Because the premise is, yeah, but I'm still doing life, right? Like I still got an ego. What do I do with this?
And I just can't give up. I just can't surrender.
Yes, you can. That's the thing. Yes.
But how do I keep working on myself?
You don't.
How does life keep going forward? That's the question. That's the rest of it.
This is the question.
Yeah.
All the spiritual life hinges right here on this thing. It's so beautiful you guys are asking this because it's the same thing I wake up and think. When I don't wake up and say I'm loved, and I wake up and I go, what do I need to do today? I bypassed the central truth. I went to doing before I got to being. Who should I say has sent you? Or when Moses was burning bush, who should I say has sent me? I am that I am. Beingness. Being. So, I'm already loved, and I'm meant to surrender to the love. I'm not trying to be loved, and I'm not working to be loved. I am loved. Now, you go, but I got this container. You see how fast the but comes? Okay, but. Ooh. I'm just saying to you, what if I didn't, maybe I just shouldn't answer this, because I'm enabling. What if I didn't, because the but, when I answer the but, I'm just assuaging all your fear right now. And maybe we should just leave you in it. Because just leave everything after for just a second. Because I know the brain is going, but I have to do something, and God has some expectations for me, and I'm supposed to be a good steward, and I got to deal with the ego. I'm still married, and she's asking me questions. I don't know how to answer these questions, and he's a lazy butt, and we need money, and my kids, they talk back, and I got to deal with that. I understand. We're still given this container, this jar of clay, and it has to function on the planet. I understand. I just want you to see how fast we leave being to go to doing. We're practical people.
Very.
Especially Kevin. The hardest work is to surrender to love. This is the harder work. To wake up in the morning and go, I'm already loved. What do I need to do? Secondary. Who am I? What if, instead of looking at your calendar, what do I need to do today? You guys are going, no one can hear you. Yeah, but this is how life works. Hold on. What if when you wake up you went, who am I supposed to be today? How might that change your day? Who am I supposed to be today? When I walk into the kitchen and I see my wife, not what am I supposed to do? Let me see, my wife wanted me to make sure I thanked her for that, and if her love language is touch, so I'll make sure I walk up and give her a hug. What do I got to do to make... What if you just walked in and said, who am I supposed to be today? You walked in, you look at your spouse, and you say, who am I supposed to be? Child of God. I'm already loved. I'm surrendering to who I am in Christ. Probably your next action is going to flow from that place of alignment. And it might not even be cognizant. You might find your body moving close for a hug. You might find your words forming into a, hey honey, I just want you to know thank you for making breakfast.
Here's the underlying struggle. The underlying struggle is, and we alluded to this at the beginning, was what you believe matters. We all live out of a matter of what we believe. And if I believe I have to earn the love that I get back, I will operate in that. I will do what I need to do to extract love from the people around me and extract love from God.
But most of us don't say we think that's what we believe.
But how we operate
reflects what we believe.
Reveals what we believe.
Wow, yeah.
And so how our motive behind what we do is rooted in belief. What we believe is true. So I know that I need love, and if I can extract it, it goes back to the idea of if I could just get one person to behave according to plan, I can get what I need.
I can relieve the tension. Mm-hmm. I can solve this problem.
Right, and that creeps and finds it's an underlying belief then that we have about God. The underlying belief we have about God is if I behave the right way, if I do the right things,
I can get him to love me.
I will get what I need from him and he will love me. The inverse is true. The inverse is true. I go into this going, he loves me. He loves me.
Therefore,
this is... It might not look any different. Your day might not look any different. You may go through your day exactly the same, doing the same things. But the underlying belief
And the energy about who you are
is totally
the
different.
Tone of your life.
Everything is different.
Your sense of presence.
Because I'm not trying to get anything from you. I'm not trying to extract from you what I already have. But if I don't...
Gonna run a lap. That's good.
No, you get muddy.
Yeah.
But there is this underlying, and I think that is so hard, especially for achievement-based people, is to say, nothing's free. He didn't just give that stuff out. God just doesn't give out his love. In an American economy, I agree. In God's economy, I don't. God gives it out.
This is the scandal of grace.
It's the scandal. It is, and if we can't move there, then we live in a place of a love-deficient place. And in a love-deficient place, I'm going to try and suck it out of you every chance I get.
Somebody nearby has to fill that gap.
Somebody's got to give it to me. And it becomes transactional. It becomes this, I do for you, you do for me. I give you love, you give me love back. And
as soon as somebody doesn't perform exactly the right way in that transaction,
then it doesn't feel like love anymore.
I've got conflict, I've got suffering, I can't believe, God, you didn't show up.
Right. And then God becomes the perpetrator.
Yep.
Because
God, those people didn't function the way they were supposed to. We made a little transaction deal. They didn't do what their part is, and I'm really angry with you. Why'd you even give me this guy? Why'd you give me this girl? Why'd you give me this kid? Why'd you give me this job? You screwed up because I had a different expectation.
Right.
Now I'm in suffering.
So you must not love me.
Does this make sense? Yes. Does this feel pretty foundational? Yes. Is it really hard to believe? Why?
Because even though you go through a day and you make 2,000 mistakes in it, okay, let's just say 2, because you and I usually make at least 2.
I was like, 2,000 felt a little more realistic.
Yeah. But let's just say we go through a day and there's mistake after mistake. We can sit in that place and go, okay, now I've depleted the love that God has for me in that moment, in that sin.
It's really tied to our egoic, like family of origin, our wounds, our trauma. Like this is where it all gets.
It's like an end-sum game. We kind of see a pool that can be depleted. That God's love is somehow limited.
Yeah.
Somehow, and then we have the capacity to limit it. And we say, yeah, I get why you don't love me.
Yeah.
And we turn that belief inside.
Because I wouldn't love me.
Right. Why would I?
I certainly have limits on how I love other people.
Sure.
In my ego place, my flesh.
Yeah. And so God must have the same limits.
Do we answer a bunch of questions and all that?
I don't know anymore. There's so many questions in this, and we ran out of time a while ago.
Oh, we got to wrap it up.
But yes, we did.
Okay.
That's the underlying theme, is what do I do with this?
Yeah.
The underlying question is how do we frame up rather than frame up an identity, how do we have a roadmap to live out that identity?
Yeah. That's good. It's really good.
That's the underlying question. But I think the underlying question has to be rooted in my identity. Because it is. You are living out of your identity. I'm living out of mine.
Whether we acknowledge it or not.
Right. It's what I believe to be true about myself is how I live my life. And whether I believe God loves me or not is played out every day, in every interaction, in every moment.
That's why we spend so much time here talking about fear and shame, because it's the thing that knocks you off that truth so quickly. All right, let's pray together. Before I pray, we move really fast. Let's take a deep breath. Bow your heads, close your eyes, stare at the floor, whatever helps you. Take a couple of deep breaths. Exhale. What's true about you? Who are you? Can the lyric of that song David wrote, can that really be true? Can we come just as we are? David and Mariah are going to sing this chorus over us. Just sit with God, and if there's anything you want to say to Him, so we know that we're going to be moving fast in a few minutes. Before we get there, just stay in the stillness. Don't miss this moment. If there's something you need to hear God say to you or something you want to say to Him, this is the time.